Well, I just keep thinking of them, and I figure as long as I'm thinking of them, I'll go ahead and post them. There's this old boy from Dothan, Alabama. Come home from work one day, and his son was at the kitchen table doing his homework. He was in there reading the paper, and he noticed his son was real frustrated, and he throwing his pen down on the table and, bowing his head and grunting and going on. And he went over and he said, "Son," "you having trouble with your homework?" The boy looked at him and said, "Yeah, Dad," said, "I've got to write a paper on the difference between hypothetical and reality." And he said, "I don't really understand it." His father said, "Well, I can help you there." He said, "That ain't no problem." He said, "Let me think a minute." He said, "All right, I got it." He said, "I tell you what, son." He said, "Your mama's in there cooking supper." He said, "Go in there and ask your mom if she'd go to bed with old cross-eyed Bill next door for $1 million. The little boy said, "What?" He said, "Just go in there and ask her, would she go to bed with old cross-eyed Bill for $1 million? The little boy said, "Okay." So he walked in there and he said, "Mama," he said, "let me ask you," he said, "for $1 million, would you go to bed with old cross-eyed Bill next door for the $1 million?" She said, "Well, hell yeah, I would." He said, "All right then." So he went in there and told his dad, said, "Yeah, she said she would." He said, "All right then." He said, "Now your sister's in there in the bathroom getting ready for her date tonight." He said, "Go in there and ask her if she'd go to bed with old cross-eyed Bill for $1 million. He said, "Okay." So he went in there and he said, "Hey sis, let me ask you something." He said, "For $1 million, would you go to bed with old cross-eyed Bill next door?" She said, "Hell yeah." He said, "All right." So he went there and told his dad, said, "She said she would too." So the dad sat the boy down. He said, "All right, now here's how it is." He said, "Hypothetically, we're sitting on $2 million. But in reality, we're living with two whores."